Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon. This is Prasanna Kumar, Fetter Brands. I welcome one and all the viewers, in particular, to those who are watching us. Today, we gathered to have a brief or little discussion about the poetry and musings. It's such an honor, such a pleasure having on board Jennifer M. Garnatz and Kingsley Hutchinson, aka Lantern Carrier, as guests to share their views and opinions about the book, about the poetry collection, about the sunset musings that was released recently on online platforms, Amazon, and some outlets, which is written by a very humble, very kind, retired civil servant, a very active writer, and his name is Rakesh Chandra. Before introducing him, I think I could say something which is his, that goes within his mind when he writes upon some, tries to put a poem or any description of whatever it is, I shouldn't be, mentioning, I shouldn't be revealing his name, but then I felt like, began his name, but yes, poetry is his favorite muse. That is what he says. And he expresses himself through this medium in myriad ways. And his topics that he picks from the surroundings and nature. And he likes people very much. People around me, around his, fascinate, and that invariably reflects, in his poems. And the perennial question of life and death, and pain and pleasure, and other emotional, happenings, touches his sensitive mind. That is what, and that comes out from his fragile heart. That fragile heart, that, the term that is, very, he says that, every time he writes, he tries to write upon, prepare a manuscript of, his book, whenever he, proposes, to have a book. It always reminds him of his inadequacies and imperfections. So that is what it's a humble side, I would say. It is very, very humbling, to accept the fact, to confess the fact, that is elevating, I would say. And he says that, poetry comes out natural. And whenever he tries to write deliberately, and he fails in that miserably, and that was being so honest. It requires very much, a kind of courage to accept the fact. That is what I would, and he says that it is a cherished dream from his childhood. That is something like that. Being a retired civil servant, he took up the, it is a dedicated passion. It's like a pastime nowadays that turned him, a full-time poet. So that was something, related to Rakesh Chandra sir, who gifted us sunset musing, which I held in my hand, right now. I had the pleasure of reading out and learning so many of things about him, and the poetry, that the style, that the imagery that when goes into it. Well, let me read out his short bio before before introducing our guests who will be talking about the book. So here is a short bio uh, that talks about that talks little about his professional side, but yes, he's a former civil servant, and he got 3 collections of English poems titled Moon is Black, Circle of Life, The Sunset Musings, and a COVID diary titled Life in Times of Corona. His English poems have found place in different anthologies, poetry journals, and newspapers, literary supplement. He also has authored 3 books on law and currently pursuing his PhD in law from Lucknow University. Is currently pursuing, but as of now, I came to know that he finished it and he, successfully, and he is supposed to be called as doctor. So I call him doctor. Always I love him personally, but I think this is it's not in a serious kind of a book release or book presentation, but we are here to discuss the fact of the content or the intent of the book that has been came from the pen of and mind of Dr. Rakesh Chandra. And his poem, Lantern Carrier and Jennifer, and of course, Rakesh Chandra sir as well. If I made permit, I could read out his poem before, beginning. So I think I could take this. The Sunset Musings. The Sunset Musings is what it is titled as. It is it's from the page 74. It is 59th poem. The rowing clouds are a treat to watch. They are changing colors from white to golden and are assuming different looks. Sometimes they are animal shaped, and other times they look like blooming flowers. Their bright images are floating at the time of sunset in the water body on the earth. Along with the doomed fireball, the sun in the passing day-long journey, the calmly float out glass on which the gentle winds ride a letter bearing their soul, spreading a sweet smell of love and care. Anybody can hear the big laughter of nature, expressing her joy in the spirit of divine. That's beautifully, the imagery, that is something beautiful. The metaphoric, vision and metaphoric description beautifully, express. So now I think I could introduce our guest, Lantern Carrier. So here is a small bio. Lantern Carrier aka Manatita Hutchinson, or Manatita Hutchinson aka Lantern Carrier, has been on poetry scene for last 21 years. He grew up writing poetry aged 4, but switched to inspirational and metaphysical poetry when he took up the meditative life. Equally at home with performance pieces, Lantern Carrier has won a Hammer and Tongue slam featured at BYOB, Mind Over Matter, Chocolate Poetry, World Play, and many other venues. He has been a runner-up in slams, as well as making the finals in HNT National Final Brighton. Lantern Carrier has read at the famous Nuyorican Cafe and in Nairobi, Kenya. He is a creative writer who writes short stories, essays, and flash fiction. He is also the author of 4 books, including Maxims for Our Children, A Look at the Teachings of Jesus, the Christ, and Blossoms of the Heart. Langton Carrier is a poet who tries to serve, to bring light, to elevate and lighten the understanding. He endeavors to raise the heart, to bring wisdom to his pieces, and is a specialist in nature, imagery, music, light, color, and dance in kaleidoscope of different forms. All his poetry addresses the varying moods of soul and the human condition, either in mystical harmony or in separation from its source. So that was our guest who would be, sharing his views and opinion and would be talking about the sunset musings written by Rakesh Chandra sir. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, I was just unmuting. Thank you, Prasanna Kumar. You're truly blessed. Salutations to you, because I've known you for a wee while, and your supreme contribution to poetry and the arts. For that, I thank you, and I pay homage to you. I'm happy to be in the presence of Jennifer, which I have known not so long ago, but she's quite a regular on the poetry scene. And very, very especially, we're here to pay homage and to talk about the book of Rakesh Chandra, The Sunset Musings. Very briefly, I think he covers so many different facets of life. He touches on the struggles, he touches on the ecology and the environment. He has a very, very keen sense of observation, strong social justice. He tries to protect women, to show the value of women. He condemns the if you like, the domination and of men in society and the role they play in subjugating women, something which didn't exist, according to my knowledge of Vedic literature in the old Indian system. Women were very much honored. That seems to have been disappeared, and unfortunately, India itself has been highlighted around the world in its treatment of women. But I don't like us to cast stones, because we all have that problem all over the world. But at least Rakesh has pointed it out. But amidst all that, there is hope, there is solace, there is comfort. There's a kind of beauty which he sees in everything, and he tries to bring that beauty to his work. He's an eloquent writer, aesthetic, ethereal, sublime, kind of romanticism, which is related to human love, but goes beyond human love to the love of the world. And I admire those qualities in him tremendously, tremendously. I took quite a lot of what Rakesh said and wrote about. I read like close enough to 40 of his poems so far. I have not yet finished, but I wanted to put everything in a kind of prose form, which would help me to explain better what I think about Rakesh's poetry. So I'll read that out to you. The poetry of Rakesh Chandra is excellent in its sophistry and command of language. A gentle, charming read that engages the reader, taking him to a keen sense of the visceral through love, life, and the beauty of nature. The first poem, which is the very first one I read, is like a dream with his beloved, and the poet admits it by stating that he does not wish to come out of this reverie. He's totally lost, in his own words, in the aroma of your sweet breath, stirring my soul. He's very descriptive, tender, emotive, and enthusiastic in his relationship, which obviously means the world to him. He experiences life as a paradise under the stronghold of your arms. That's how he describes that relationship. Right from the beginning, the poet is obviously concerned about the plight of women, the injustices to them in society, the hardship that maidens encounter, sometimes even at home. He ponders on why it all happens to women who, in his eyes, are arguably God's best creations. I think he's to be applauded for thinking of women very, very much as I do, because I grew up with a single mom, and I recognize and appreciate how hard women worked. And he's working, in fact, single or not single, they all need to be commended. Rakesh shows a tender soul with a deep concern for women in society where their plight is sometimes highlighted, but their traumas, unfortunately, still continues. Rakesh is tender, delicate, as concerned with death as he is with life, due to maturity, perhaps. You know, he's a wise soul. Yet he still paints a picture of beauty in a cute, charming, and immaculate way. His use of images and keen sense of observation are very astute, even when talking about climate change, and his deep-seated instinctive feel runs right through his poetry. The poet at times appears to be taking a dig at the cultural and environmental attitudes of his day, where men appear dominant in society. And so he speaks for women with the voice of a woman, reminding us, marksmen as he calls us, not to throw poison darts. The poet uses images that are upbeat, such as saplings of hope. He draws on nature such as the morning sun, green leaves, and calls us to vistas of beauty, even in the times of lesser light. I understand the poet to be a lawyer, but his work is soft, delicately woven, full of the verdure of life now, bringing promises to souls of a better vision of tomorrow, a comfort to those who seek to improve or enhance the qualities of the todays. The poet is aesthetic, ethereal, even sublime, yet he remains grounded and comes over as a romantic poet, engrossed with the beauty of life and filled with empathy, as demonstrated quite clearly here in these 4 lines. When somebody wipes the tears of a person in distress or smiles in return for a child's innocent smile, my heart dances like a peacock in rains, and I feel the pulsating footfall of life. That was Rakesh's words. He hopes that discrimination will vanish, as it is steeped in deep-rooted racial prejudice, and that none will perish in a state of fright. Painting his darker picture, he expresses life as he sees it. His emotiveness draws on streets littered with garbage and empty spaces turned into junkyards of jungles and forests, with a deep sense for higher values, for greater morals. Yet he changes with hope of the joys of blooming, using soft and delicate images just as much as he incorporates birds and caterpillars blossoming into butterflies. Rakesh tells us that a loving heart throbs only in the bright sunshine, and he says the glimpses of life entering his soul through the corridors of eyes. I most certainly recommend not only the buying of a copy of this book, but a putting forward of same for a literary price for poetry. I would let you take over at that point, and at some later on I could read 1 or 2 of Rakesh's poems as time allows for convenience.
Thank you, sir. Yes, it's definitely to be grabbed over, and I request all the viewers, and I would request all the poets out here who are watching to check out the link, and I would be posting there. And yes, the book is available on Amazon, and you could just have an hand on it. So I think now the time for to switch over to other speaker is to the writer himself. Before asking Jennifer to chime in, I would straight away call Dr. Rakesh Chandra sir to elaborate on the book and how he came about the idea of having the title and the kind of profound poems. Over to you, sir. Welcome.
Am I audible? Yes. So actually, in the poetic fraternity, I am a newborn poet. My poetic journey is only 4 years old after post-retirement. Then I wholeheartedly, you see, jumped into this poetic arena. So writing without thinking about the topics, grabbing any topic which touched my heart. So that is how this book came into being. This is a collection of poems on different themes, particularly on nature, on life and death, on the people around us, their plight, or the women's condition, all these topics. These were very close to my heart. And I was, you see, lucky to have a deep insight throughout my service by meeting these people, seeing the plight of these people. So that is my cherished memory. And that helped me write with such a heart or the sensitivity to these poems. And this, you see, environmental degradation, that is, you see, it pinches me hard. I have published 2 books on and my papers on environmental degradation or environmental, you see, science. And I'm a frequent, you see, reader of what is happening around in the era of climate change. So these topics, there are certain topics which hurts your conscience, which deeply touches your conscience. These are few topics which I have mentioned. But besides that, sometimes poetry comes as natural as, you see, the wind comes in the month of May and June. It comes naturally. So there are some poems also. But you see, the real thing is that there is no thought process to evolve this book. Poems came naturally to me. And after having, you see, more than 100 poems, then I thought of putting into a collection, came into being. And I must thank Mr. Sudarshan Kacheri of this Author Press, this publishing house. He encouraged me a lot, and he published this book beautifully and with a very, you see, attractive format. So that is how poetry comes to me. And the book came to me.
That's wonderful. I think before, I think on further moving further, let's come over to you after a while, and I think I could now ask Jennifer. I think I could introduce Jennifer, our second guest, who is here to, you know, say a few words and share her opinion on the book. And I would introduce her with her a short bio. Jennifer is from Jamaica and West Indies. And she grew up without a mother and raised by a single father. Graduated from a Catholic secondary school where she also boarded. Later worked as an executive assistant, migrated to Germany in 1980, worked there until, you know, retirement in 2019. Creative writing has been her passion since childhood, and she presented poems at various events locally and international and overseas, and including New York and Poets Cave. And she has got a poetry collection too. It's called Romantically Erotic Deadly Spiritual Society, that is available on online bookstores and all. That deals with the various aspects of human emotions, spirituality, and nature. She enjoys, she likes to communicate with people of all races and ages, and those who follow the spiritual, belief. She believes that everyone has a purpose in life. So that was something about Jennifer. I would request Jennifer to say a few words to, take up on
Hello,
the mic.
everybody. Thank you. I am extremely honored to be here Prasannaji, thanks for inviting me. Rakesh Chandraji, congratulations on your new book, The Sunset Musings. I'm happy to be able to say a few words. I hope it's not too long. I thoroughly enjoyed being taken by your lines into emotional highs and lows. It's captivating, it's fantastic, excellent, you are brilliant. You humbly describe yourself as and imperfect as a poet. I most certainly do not share such self-reflection. I'm sure that after listening to or reading your poems, everyone will share my view that you, Rakesh, throughout your myriad poetic expressions, have revealed yourself to be an amazing, sensitive poet. You totally succeed in enlightening our minds, during which we feel engulfed by your lines, wishing your love poems would never end, opening our eyes and consciousness to the beauty surrounding us in your poems dealing with nature. Most important, I see a nobleman like you, Rakesh Chandra, showing sympathy and understanding and being a champion of public awareness of women's plight in the world. I have decided to highlight 3 of your poems in the book. Untitled Women's Enclosure. This is a very soft, beautiful poem from a man who has a sensitivity to think like a young woman. Your lines, we are all women standing or sitting, pretty, feeling safe and secured in the benign presence of our mother. The first lines of this poem immediately pulled me closer. Throughout the verses, it aroused nostalgia in my mind's eye. Although I grew up without a mother, I felt exactly that way growing up with my father, feeling secure, knowing he was there to protect me, even when I was alone at home. Your lines, our eyes are fixed outside in search of future vistas, and her virtual feel will only make us feel strong in the neighborhood. Those lines really capture the yearning to one day become independent of one's parents. The visage of getting married and moving to the husband's home, yet being aware that one will still be needing their emotional support. The last line, we are determined to keep the doors of our minds open at any rate. Rakesh, here you show that you consider us girls, women, strong individuals. A beautiful, powerful poem indeed. Your other poem, I Am a Crazy Lovebird. Here you out yourself in this poem as a very sensual man. This poem has so many beautiful lines, everyone in the mood for making love, if you pardon my expression. When my body is set aflame by the growing pangs of love. Here, you are speaking to us from the standpoint of a female lover, thus again proving that you understand and empathize with the innermost feelings of women. I'm in readiness to taste the nectar of love oozing from his pair of lips. The last verse is just as erotic. Let this love flame burn my body till I turn into ashes for some time. But I will rise again in other forms, the bard singing ballads of love, which will ring in the air till eternity. Which woman could not love to have a man like Rakesh Chandra? Which reader would not love to revel in delight, reading your romantic poems, engulfing herself within your lines? The last poem I'm reviewing, Jungle Lore, is also the last poem in your book. Here, Rakesh, you gently begin this poem by calling our attention to the sounds of nature, which you aptly titled The Jungle Lore. Calmly open our eyes and consciousness to the beauty of nature surrounding us. Point out the peaceful coexistence of the creatures surrounded by the thick foliage, thriving in the sun rays. Your lines, In a peaceful milieu, no greed, no envy, or unwanted mayhem. These lines can't help but conjure in my mind the wonderful world it would be if we humans could likewise coexist. With the following lines from the last verse, the gentle winds to spread the message to the outer world, where dissonance is issue at core. I sense, Rakesh, you also want your readers to reflect upon our fellow humans' inability to live in harmony, and your hope that it will one day be achieved. What a great way to end your book. I congratulate you, I salute you, I wish you lots of success, lots of sales. Blessings.
Wow. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you. It's such a really, when the poet is blessed and the poet is succeeded, when you get your emotion, when you are feeling that across the other poets, and they emotionally get attached to that poem. And that is what you felt when he written about the father, and that reminds you of your father, that it was their personal experience that, brought forth. That was really, that's a touching point. That is considered to be a successful poet when yeah. So on this point, I think I could go across to Lantern Kyria once again, and I would ask him to deliberate upon the further on this sunset musics. Lantern, if you are here. Maybe he got some technical technical glitch. Maybe I think I can.
Yes, I can. I'm unmuted now.
Yeah.
What
please.
I wanted to do was to read one of the poems. I chose number 11. In
Yes.
fact, I chose 3 or 4, but number 11 I wanted to read specifically because, life runs throughout his poetry
Exactly.
from the beginning to the end. And that poem is called Through the Bioscope of Life.
Lantern, can you turn on your camera again?
Bioscopic of life. Yes.
Sorry, I did it to help you, Jennifer, because occasionally you're mildly crackly, but I forgot to turn it back. Yeah. Through the bioscope of life. When the birds fly in the sky, flapping the wings in style, or when they twitter laughingly, hopping between the ground below and top of trees, when the kites soar high and thumb their chests, I see the glimpses of life entering my soul through the winds roar into deep forests and deer run in search of haven safe, or the beetles singing melodious tunes in tandem with flitting movements of butterflies. I visualize the distinct footprints of life on the rugged surfaces of wretched earth. When the mortal humans rush to work in fields and factories with all their might, or make efforts for the betterment of others' lives without caring for the risks, I read the writings on the wall depicting the myriad pictures of life. When somebody wipes the tears of a person in distress or smiles in return for a child's innocent smile, my heart dances like a peacock in rains, and I feel the pulsating footfall of life. That's the last verse of stanza. And I quoted that one before because here the poet is in a very kind of inspirational mood. He's basically, he feels good about you trying to wipe the tears of a person in distress. It's a kind of soulful service. We call it savor, and savor applies to so many things. Savor comes from the heart. Initially, it's an unconditional act of compassion or empathy from the heart, the psychic heart, not the emotional heart. And here he's showing that kind of empathy, He talks about a child's innocent smile. My heart dances like a peacock in rains. The imagery there is so beautiful, so beautiful. and I feel the pulsating footfalls of life. Yeah. Yes, so that last stanza is so meaningful and so beautiful, but the entire poem is drawing on different aspects. You know, he talks about mortal humans, he talks about the lions, the birds, and so forth, to draw onto this, what he calls this bioscope of life. And I think that makes it an incredibly beautiful poem.
Exactly. As I was also, trying to mention that, and it's a poet's heart. It's a poet's heart dance, that is dance like a peacock in the rains. It's a poet's heart, bloomed. That was something. Everything was mentioned, the bioscopic, as you mentioned, visual description. That's
yes. Well, I would remember that he's poets steal from each other. And he's essentially stealing, like I do, from the mystics. The word dance is very common to us in the mystical life. We like to dance. God is dancing his Leela, as it's known in India. It's a divine game, a divine dance. And we love to dance. And the poet is dancing in his poetry here as well.
And one more thing is he rejoices. He rejoices in the wiping tears of a person. That was something empathy. That was something called, and in I feel the pulsating footfall of life. Footfall of life. Just imagine.
Yes, initially I call that the social conscience, but it's above a social conscience, really. It's an inner state of goodness, a feeling of trying to uplift humanity, a very sensitive, I think Jennifer used that word, a very sensitive in a positive sense of the feeling and pulsation of life.
Yeah, it is because
trying to harmonize, always trying to harmonize, to bring together that.
Yeah, exactly. And that note, I think there is a similar, imagery that is something came upon. I think page number 106, 91 page. In the search of lovely mermaid. In the search of a lovely mermaid, if you could understand what I was trying to say. A lovely mermaid is awaiting perpetually.
Yes.
Within the depth of her heart's ocean. So that is, you could just imagine. Just imagine. And the mermaid is being, is within us, in the ocean of, to bring us joy and mirth abounding. But we keep busy in inviting turmoil. What a wonderful way of, highly philosophical.
Life is very much like an ocean, and God is the ocean, and we all fishes in his sea.
And fighting with others is a fruitless war, losing our mind, peace of mind in the end, yet not ready to shed worn-out notions. What a wonderful description, sir. He just related with, the happiness with the mermaid, and he says, see, everything is within us. And he was so beautifully, I mean, this is reality and not a dream. That we aspire for heavenly angels to bring a smile on our face, and we never fathom inside our heart that is lies within us. That is what, everything, he summed up, this poetic, that is called, to find out the lovely little mermaid who is empathetic and compassionate, always ready to help mankind by flapping their generous fins leisurely and provide us succor from poisonous darts. Let us look inside for a while. Let us look inside for a while. Little maid will be on our side. Wow. I mean, I'm
let me read one more. He's basically saying the same thing, but he's trying to teach us through the environment, through ecology. And I like this one a lot because, climate change comes in and he's asking us, to have a second look or a second thought about how we deal with the environment and with ecology. This one is number 23. It's called It's Time to Wake Up. When climate is changing so rapidly that survival of living beings is in peril, snow-capped glaciers are melting down, raising the temperature of the planet. It's raining excessively everywhere, causing flash floods, submerging habitats all around. Global warming is taking its toll, and forests, lush green and thick, are now burning inferno, rapidly changing into graveyards of hapless animals, roaming there like nature's bards. Human beings are inhaling toxic air in towns and cities in myriad urban settings. Water they drink is contaminated and not potable, often mixed with dirt-looking yellow-brown. While human race is facing the threat of imminent extinction from this beautiful earth, we're indulging in blissful slumber, not to be awakened by any signal, obliterating the difference between death and birth. Yeah. Yeah.
Very, I mean, it is very environmental conscious, everything. I think the experience that is, everything is gone into those, the thing. But it is not necessarily he should be a poet or he should be a social activist or something like that. But he should have the bent of mind to, reflect upon the social the issues, that has been bothering his mind. Otherwise, it is not easy to write upon. It's such a lengthy poems. It's not like short poems or it's like that. So I would once again go over to Jennifer.
The really powerful poem that Lantern just read. You can hear me?
Yes.
It was a powerful poem that Lantern just read. And it tells us all of how conscious Rakesh Chandra is about the problems of society, that he's bringing us to attention, trying to let us think deeply. What are we doing to the world? What are we doing to this earth? What are we really doing to ourselves for the future generations? And it is just great that this awareness through the poems, people will read it, people will hear it when he recites it, or when we read his poems, and sort of make the consciousness of these people sort of want to act instead of being complacent and being remaining in a slumber state, so great poem, wonderful.
So yes, it's a very apt word, not being a complacent, and he came up with this idea of having the poetry as a tool,
Exactly.
through his expression. I think the relevant topic, I think theme which I would like to read out before winding up, before asking Dr. Rakesh Chandra to say a few words for conclusion. I think I could read out a poem from the book. It is from the page 130, and it's called Nectar Drops Are Falling, 113. Nectar drops are so close and plenty. We want to slake our thirst forever. Though we survive on bare minimum, we are gifted with this divine favor. Sparse green fields are lying below, completely covered with white sheets of water. Raindrops are falling to quench the thirst of the parched earth and the surrounding nature. Yellow-green frogs are croaking harshly. The birds are flapping their water-soaked wings. Water-soaked wings. Have you, come across this phrase, water-soaked wings? So crickets are singing in chorus, sounding shrill. Everybody is immersed in the pleasures which rainfall brings. So raindrops are being compared with, like nectar.
Yeah.
So that is the thing, so environmentally conscious and everything is societal conscious, the poets thoughts spoken out, his deep emotions came out, that is the thing. And thank you, sir. It was such a pleasure, to be having a discussion on this a wonderful book. And it's such an honor, I don't know how I could not express my joy of holding this book and going through the pages and flipping the pages. I usually write. I usually express through these reviews and poetic. I mean poetic expression. I write, but then today I think I made this. I think we had this discussion. I mean, it's like, but it is. I mean, this is something very, very validating. I mean, it's like, yeah, a poet should be talked about, and poet should be listened about. He should be honored always, because he is serving the society. He is he's like in a torch bearer, I would say. So I think as Lanterns was saying, as Jennifer was saying, I think Dr. Rakesh Chandra sir would agree with me if I'm not wrong. So I think I could now I would ask Dr. Rakesh Chandra sir to grace the final words and before winding up.
Thank you so much. I have thought so many times that political writings are plenty in number, whether in prose, poetry, films, etc. There are so many good writers have written on political themes with inclinations, certain inclinations in political, arena. But social themes are often not, found in that number, which the writers should adhere to. These are relegated social themes, social topics. We try to write on abstract things, but we don't try to write on the living beings, because poetry or any kind of literature, any kind of muse, it comes from the living beings only, from the surroundings only, from the nature only. So why this is not bad if we go for abstract things, but we should not, relegate the social issues, the issues that are going to harm the mankind, the humanity itself, because when humanity will be harmed, then there will be no existence of human beings or any living being for that sake. All the great civilizations, be it Mayan civilization, Egyptian civilization, or Indus Valley civilization, all great civilizations were lost due to climate change conditions, or lost because of human greed, you say. So we didn't care when the time was, when we have time to salvage these great civilizations. Once again, that is going to happen in our lifetime also. Climate change is taking so much, rapid strides that you never know what will happen in coming 5 years or 10 years. Similarly, the condition of women, children, the poor people, the impoverished people, the have-nots. So that is also very deteriorating everywhere. Discrimination is being done in the name of race, caste, color, all kind of things. So is it not the duty of the writer to portray it without being a part, without partisan approach, but at least they can paint the picture. They can put it in a correct perspective, because the reader may, start thinking on those lines. Only then that revolution will come, or the change will come, rather, not revolution, but a change in aptitude, change in our thinking, because nature has given everything, all the kind of beauteous things. God has given all kind of beauteous thing to us, and we are ready to destroy everything good which is good on earth. The tender relations, the beautifying nature, all kind of. So there will neither be humanity nor the beauty of nature. Then there is a famous novel by Aldous Huxley. That's very famous novel, that the man became mad and everybody hunted him. A very famous novel, I'm forgetting his name. So that kind of situation that can be averted by the joint efforts of the writers, the poets, all kind of literatures. They should come forward and start writing on the social issues also. Just by making them, not infiltrating into their minds, but to let them start thinking on right tracks. That is the part of the literature that should be done by the. And poetry is a very potent medium. I think the poets have got, uh, more. They have to be more responsible to all kind of social and natural ethics rather. So that prompts me to write poems on such themes, because that these issues are very close to my heart, and I think this is also a kind of, you are doing a human service to humanity, to the nature, to the God, by writing on such themes and by making people aware about all these things. That is the purpose of my poetry. And I think that I am a poet in the making. And today's discussion has charged me very much that to do much better. And I hope, because the sky is the limit in this field, and I try every day to better my poems, to better use of words, better use of imagery, better to put it in a different way. I daily, when I start writing, I try to do it in a different way, to better myself every day. That is my goal, simply. And you people are the judge. I don't know how much I succeed in doing this, but that is my, at least, intention, my ambition, to be a poet who reaches the masses, who can reach the masses, and to make, and to kind of, make them thinking in more, wise way, or you say the better way, or kind of anything. But best, the crux is that the thinking, if you start thinking in human way, that is all about. And I really thank you,
Human way, yes, there's the best word. So yes, exactly. Whatever you said is correct. The Anthropocene nature of the human beings has to be curbed. The Anthropocene, dominance over the nature, dominance over the dominance over other living beings. You should respect the nature, the gifted nature, the God-given nature. That he is the part of the world, he is the part of the nature, that has to be realized. That is what is reflecting. That is what, as you see, as you said, it's a potent medium that you try to, put it as.
We have, we have deviated ourselves from respecting other human beings.
Exactly.
That is the tragedy of our times. We don't want to respect others. And we want that every people should respect me. So we are going in very wayward direction, Humanity is going in very wayward direction. There are some good Samaritans, the good people, but their number is dwindling fast.
Exactly.
That is the cause of concern that troubles my mind so often. If we can't respect you, then that means we are not respecting humanity itself.
Exactly, sir. Exactly. Very well said. That is what. Maybe I think this is the medium. I think we could just express ourselves, or we could try to discipline ourselves. I would rather say discipline. If I put it in a correct way, I think Landron would agree with me. Yes, that is something.
Discipline is essential, but man has gone away from the principles of various scriptures. We cannot do it by ourselves. Man seems to think that he's in charge. We forget there is a higher power.
Exactly.
So we cannot do anything unless we tune into a higher power. Grace is totally necessary. Scripture speaks of a God, yes, whether it's east or west, but all scriptures also have principles. The principles aren't written for nothing. They're there for a reason. That is to say, we need to pray, we need to have selfless service, we need to have a sense of empathy, but everything comes through a prayer life, or life of silent prayer, or life of meditation, because the grace is coming from a higher intelligence. Without it, we're nothing. And man has to recognize that.
Yes,
We're not
exactly.
there yet because we're pulled by material consumerism.
Correct, sir. Correct, sir. I always put this in the poetic togetherness. Every time every day, the togetherness is what very much needed. It's like,
Exactly.
that is what is to be understood in
Yeah, but
broadly.
there can be no togetherness without spirituality in the
That's
minds
what
of
I'm
the
trying to
humans.
say. Yoga
Yes.
says that it is the individual that must change.
Yes.
The moment you begin to change, everything around you changes.
Yes, that is what. Reform yourself by yourself and try to reform others. So
Yes.
that is the thing, that is the quotation of maybe. So on that note, I think we have finished a beautiful discussion on the sunset musings penned by none other than Honorable Dr. Rakesh Chandra, sir. And I would request viewers to grab the piece, which is available on the, online bookstores and Amazon, everywhere. I've given the link on my wall, and you could find me on it and Fatal Brands. And you could also approach Dr. Rakesh Chandra, sir, or any guest out here. You could, I would, suggest to have a reading of the sunset musings. With this, I would like to take,
One last thing.
say
One last
goodbye.
thing. Just I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to you, Mr. Lantern and Ms. Jennifer, for reading my book and giving their honest opinion, I suppose, and
Yes,
their
definitely.
and their thought, their words has really empowered me and energized me to do better in the life. I am really grateful.
Just one thing, Rakesh.
Yes.
Your English is very, very good.
Thank you.
But I would give it to a native reader, not to change your voice. Your voice comes over powerful. Your voice is unique and you yourself. But I would give it to a native English reader just to highlight a couple of things that can be edited to make it flow even better.
Okay, sir.
If that makes sense.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thanks for coming, and thanks to Kingsley Hutchinson, Lantern Carrier, Jennifer, Rakesh Chandra, sir, Isaac, I bid adieu, and we'll be having a next topic of discussion some other time, and I would like to have you on weekly session, open recital. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. It was a pleasure and honor to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.